Hello, mates. How did a guy from Brooklyn do, huh? Hello, mates. I love that. It's such a warm way of saying hi to each other, and I'm very jealous that we don't have something like that in my country. I want to thank whoever in the PJ is responsible for having me here. I think one of the things inside of me is that you don't learn things for yourself, you gather things to share with people. What follows is about leveraging the brain's connection to learning. The brain is the gateway to learning. Everyone believes learning is good, very good thing, but most of us know so little about it, including myself. Socrates once said, "The unexamined life is not worth living." To which I posed the question, why then is subject content information so heavily researched? 90 degrees, 20 degrees, do this, do that, which I did for 20 years. And the nature of learning that subject is given so little attention. The first principle for modernizing learning, and I think we're on the cusp of, we know so much more about learning, and possibly we're exchanging 20th century teaching for 21st century learning. We know so much more about it. And the first principle is pay attention to emotions. Everything's built on emotions. Birds fly, fish swim, people feel. Everything is based on emotions. And the next thing is the student's past experiences. I made some notes this morning. I was a little off. I apologize for reading. I normally don't, but I was on a different clock and I made a few notes this morning. Some of what follows is very counterintuitive, so keep an open mind. Minds are like parachutes. They work better when they're open. Teaching environments are clearly different than learning environments. In a teaching environment, somebody's looking at themselves on the first tee, and am I doing this right or that right? Learning environments, people bake the cake and check it afterwards. Learning shouldn't be a tricky business filled with frustrations. The aim of this presentation is to create some curiosity about joining acts of teaching with the science of learning. The foundation for what I'm going to share with you today is the reality that the brain is the gateway to learning and everything else we do. We actually don't remember things, we actually reconstruct them. You're not recalling when your memory, you're reconstructing. So every time you remember something, you're actually relearning it, and that's probably why we don't tell stories very accurately, because we're always reconstructing it. Question: so how do we go from not knowing to knowing? Well, a 2-word answer, take risks. A 3-word answer, don't fix anything. Fixing's not learning. 5-word answer, take past experiences into consideration. 6-word answer, make students feel smart and safe. Probably our only job as a parent, a coach, an educator, or an employer is to make people feel smart. I don't care, I've won the games before. I don't care if I make it. 10-word answer, join the art of teaching with the science of learning. 20-word answer to the question, use brain-compatible information delivery systems in smart classrooms with emotionally safe approaches that can playfully enhance acts of learning. Be childlike. Many of approaches to learning realize that learning is first an emotional event based on the brain's connection to that process. Some of the facts we've figured out, or science has figured out, nothing I share with you today I discovered. I'm standing on the shoulders of, I'll go to the middle of what I wrote down here. I was the 1991 Teacher of the Year and all that. that nonsense, and I was traveling all around the world, et cetera, and I realized some of the people I was spending time with weren't getting it. And I was supposed to be this mucky-muck, perceived expert. And some of them weren't getting it. They weren't reaching their potential. And I realized I needed to know more. That was my aha moment. I knew my subject, but I didn't know anything about how to share it based on the brain's connection to learning. Acts of focusing are overrated and they can damage learning. Learning is mostly an unconscious event. Did you ever go to the movies? Tell your friends about it? You didn't try to learn that information. How does a child figure out how to get across the street by themselves? Nobody sat there and gave them directions. There's absolutely no new learning. You really can't change a habit. Tiger's hitting the same bad shot. People who are late for work are always late for work. You create a new employee. You don't try to fix this. You try to help them learn this. Every bad shot they hit for the rest of their life, maybe once a week, once every 6 months, won't be on a... Jack Nicklaus doesn't hit a new bad shot. Random training is more useful than block practice. FAIL stands for Finding Access into Learning. I've taken 90 hours of courses up at Harvard. The first year I went, I thought I was just registering, and I got a letter back that I had to send them back some of my background information, and I found out I was applying. They have an institute up there that's called Connecting the Mind Brain to Learning Institute. And they call the missed putt a desirable developmental difficulty. UCLA Learning Lab wants you to introduce unwanted outcomes during training. We have to know high, low, left, and the brain has to know it to find it. You're probably familiar with Shaquille O'Neal. They want him to practice foul shots from 14 feet and 16 feet, not stand there on 15 feet and try and get it right. I could go on and give some counterintuitive insights, but let's move on. We are in the business of transferring information, which means we're in the business of using words. That's pretty straightforward. During this conference, the audience will probably hear 200,000 or 300,000 words. There's about 24 hours of lectures, and we speak at about 120 words to 150 words a minute, so do the math. That's an awful lot of words. Which doesn't include the words that you will use to each other. Actually, the most important part of this conference is going to be lunchtime and dinner. I was full of hot air. Well, I didn't like that speaker. That's the deal. We're just the Christmas tree, a reason to get around and exchange ideas with each other. As I said, this presentation is to create curiosity. What do you do at your place? What do you do over there? That's the deal here. I appreciate coming here, but I'm looking at more brains than you're looking at. I'm just sure, there's no experts. You just have the ability to share your experiences with each other. And I don't see myself as the big win that took this, about a 5-hour flight from America? I forget. With the answers. Hopefully I create questions. That's the deal. Systems built on questions last. Systems built on detail don't last. How many of these words this week are going to support learning, and how many are going to suppress learning? That's a question I wouldn't have asked 20 years ago, and it's the only question I ask today. The only question I ask. If what I am sharing with this golfer, is that causing them to make progress or slowing the progress down? Do you see, when we say things or do things, we create chemicals. And some chemicals support learning, and some chemicals do not. They release chemicals that suppress it. And if you believe in we're supposed to make people feel smart, you know what I learned in school today? I'm not very good at math. I'm not good at English. I went to golf school and I got this list of 10 things I'm doing wrong. Isn't that great? Why the hell would you want to pay attention to anything you're doing wrong for? If you went on vacation and you got lost year one and you're going back year two, would you pay attention to how you got lost or pay attention to how to get there? I think we have to be aware of, as instructors, that anything we share with people is available on the internet in a click. It's not about information, it's about how we're sharing it. About the relationship we develop with students. Because of research into the nature of learning, over the last 20 years of my career, I have been very careful about the words I use and how I design and structure the approach. How what we know is being presented matters. It's either brain compatible or it's not. This should help. Let's look at what we know about the golf swing as hard skills. And the way we present information and the way we organize it as soft skills. Does anybody want to know why Apple is a great company? Because they paid attention to soft skills and let somebody else build the hard skills. But the big thing about Apple is the way they packaged it and presented it. We want to grow the game of golf, eliminate frustration and intimidation. Everybody do it in their own best way. But the reason people are leaving the game or not coming back is they're frustrated or they're intimidated. And I call it grow the game instruction that's based on brain-compatible information systems. Doesn't frustrate people because they realize that that's part. Unless you're Irish Catholic, it's not a mistake. It's feedback for the next meeting, the next time you make the pie, the next business meeting you're in. That's my wish. If you advance somebody's learning potential, their performance potential changes. And you're not going to advance potential by giving them a list of everything they did wrong. I think our job is to help them invent their putting stroke, help them invent their posture, help them help them see things that you can't see, hear things that you can't hear, and think about things, about problems that aren't there yet. That's the deal. Who in this room would like a consistent golf swing? Let's raise your hands. Come on. I would suggest that that's a bad choice because we never have the same shot. Why the hell do you want a consistent golf swing? You want flexible knowledge and portable skills with the tool. How many different ways of using the shaft, head, and face? The golf club has 3 employees. It's a shaft, it's a head, and a face. I sometimes ask somebody, do they have a favorite golfer? Do they have a swing model? And they'll say, or Ernie Els, or some woman on the tour. And I say, ask me my swing model. Swing model is the golf course. The golf course is telling me to take it inside. The golf course is telling me to hit an 8-iron. The golf course is telling me everything works backwards from the environment. This man coaches his teams based on who he's going to play, based on core knowledge. That's flexible and portable. How many different ways? That's why random training is much more valuable than block training. You got 5 minutes to putt, hit 5 minutes worth of different putts. Don't stand there, especially with a line that's not going to be on the golf course. Learning aids make learning too easy. That's why they don't work. We want them. We think they work, but they don't. The research doesn't work. So, when we're trying to support learning, it's probably going to be our soft skills that are more important than our hard skills, the information we know. In the mid-1980s, around the time I got the idea to create the first PGA Teaching Summit, it was about the same time I helped create the first European and Canadian Teaching Summit, I had this paradigm shift. And paradigm shifts are normally going forward. My paradigm shift went backwards for millions of years. 50 species a day become extinct here on Earth, and we're still here. We're still here. We're not designed to miss parts, we're not designed to have car accidents, and we're not designed to fail tests. We're designed to succeed. What's the only thing consistent about business? That it's inconsistent. But business uses inconsistency as a positive. Schools and sport coaching use inconsistency as a negative. Kick it too far, kick it too short. Kick it to the left, kick it to the right. And you'll find out where the middle is. That's the deal. That's why they want Shaquille O'Neal to practice from 16 feet and 14 feet. And then in the game comes from 15 feet, because the brain will know it. Somebody's bad at 10-footers, have them have to hit some 8-footers and 12-footers. Don't have them stand there and try and hit 10-footers. So I had this paradigm shift, but it was a paradigm shift backwards to the way we learn. Learning is a survival skill. After I recognized that some people weren't really reaching the progress I thought they could, this confused me. After all, I was Mike Hebron. I was the teacher of the year. I was supposed to be a big deal. My mother thought so. I don't know if you and I are going to agree on this. If it was the coach, there'd be more people winning the US Open. I've worked with people that have won 3 majors, winner on every tour, and I could go on and on and on, and it's never the coach. Michael Jordan walks into your life, and all of a sudden you're a great coach. I don't get this, that coaches are taking credit for somebody's progress. It's probably over by 10 years old anyway. The emotion, the will are there, and they show up, and you polish it a little bit. Does anybody know the name John Redmond? John Redmond met Paul Azinger when he couldn't break 80 as a junior golfer. Maybe John has the right to say something like that. When we meet players, we're meeting the Cadillacs. We're meeting the people with the most talent, the most this or that. Most of the time, you keep your mouth shut. But my awe moment was I didn't know very much about learning. I've never seen myself as a perfect teacher, but I did learn there are perfect learners, and they're called human beings. If you create the learning environment, they're going to do fine. If you create a teaching environment, they're probably not going to reach their potential. I didn't discover this stuff. I'm only sharing it with you based on a lot of very important research. Here's a statistic. More people in schools, more people in business training, and more people taking sports coaching don't make progress than do. Students don't need more education. Coaches need more education. Educators need more education. Find a way to communicate. Learning styles don't exist. Oh, I'm not a visual learner. Well, how'd you find your way home? The whole brain is learning. Color is in one place, size is in another, shape is in another. And all your neurons have information, and they go past experience. Could you stand up here a second for me, please? Turn around, face your buddies, your mates, okay? And toss a set of keys. Pretend. No, out to that gentleman. What's different about that than a golf swing? Thank you. That's a golf swing. It has to be metaphoric. You have to attach it to something they already do. It was in a week or so, I'm going to the Czech Republic. A week after that, I'm going to Ireland, do the same kind of thing. This summer, I was in Italy. We took somebody out of the... I don't understand at teaching conferences why people fly in their students to coach in front of people. I think they should get somebody out of the kitchen or somebody from the wait staff who doesn't play golf. We took a guy. I wouldn't have done this in the first 20 years. Took a guy who didn't play golf, put him in a bunker, had him toss some keys, gave him a ball, and he was hitting balls out of the... everything. There's no golf stuff. There's no soccer stuff. There's no basketball stuff. It's all the same stuff. Balance, timing, rhythm. All the one-sport kids get more injuries, lower grades, and more social problems. We have 800 kids a week in our junior program, our youth program. And it's a Monday camp, a Tuesday camp, a Wednesday camp, a Thursday camp. And that gives them a week off to play Little League this or that. Every sport helps the other sport. And I'll show you the research. So we got more people not making progress than should be. We got about 250 people here. We're all going to chip in $1,000, and we're going to start a golf school. Okay? But before we do, I want to show you something to help us make a decision on how we're going to structure the golf school. Okay? Player styles. Okay? About all this different stuff. Okay? You warm up, practice technique, preparation, practice round. Random skill development and training, 5 minutes. Core knowledge, maybe 5 minutes. One of the really important things a brain scientist would tell you, if you're working on alignment, 5 minutes on the putting green, 5 minutes in a bunker, 5 minutes over here, the brain gets bored. It wants novelty. Whatever you're working on, if you can, change the context every 5-10 minutes. It'll resonate much better. Okay, direction, curvature, trajectory, and distance. If my owner only knew how to make me fly. I did an article once about how golf clubs and the balls were talking to each other in the factory about how they hoped their owners would use them. We have 3 employees, face, head, and shaft. What tells me what to do to it? The golf course, not pictures of somebody's swing. Drills don't work, by the way. They're horrible. If we know it, it works. Drills are a horrible way to learn something. Had him hit it to the right, hit him to the left, fast, slow, good, and it'll come. They don't do them right anyway. Okay. Remember, we're going to try to get information out of this to start a golf school with one idea. Okay? Open to close, no motion, closed to open. Lagging, inline, overtaking. Okay? Club shaft is vertical, and these are all world-class champions. Love the story about McEnroe. A further story, during junior camp, he would sit in the corner, not listen to any coaches, get up and beat everybody. Okay? All world-class champions. Maybe great swings. Okay? Great players. Okay? 3 different hand positions. Okay? 3 different address positions. 3 different hands back, centered, forward. This needs adjustments, that's okay. Okay, halfway back. Hand path and club shaft inside. Hand path and club shaft outside. So what are we gonna tell people who come to our school? What's gonna be our deal? In, square, out. Shaft in, square, out. There's so many ways to play golf. There's so many different things. Trevino, Hogan, Nelson. Why was their backswing a little bit flatter than Nicklaus? Because of the way they grew up. They grew up in a flat, windy place, and the other guy grew up in a place where he grew up. That's all. Everything works backwards from the environment, works backwards from the customer, works back. We coach the golf club. We didn't learn to use our bodies, by the way. We learned things. We learned steering wheels and toothbrushes and buttons and zippers. Gabriel Wolf's work is very, very important. Attention and motor skill learning. If you were my coach, do you like where my hands are? Yes? No? Yes or no? Of course, the club's different. Do you like where my hands are? Of course, the club's different. Rules are for the club. The ball flight laws should be the golf club laws. Wherever you want to put the club determines where the ball goes. We have kids 5, 6, 7 years old that know why every shot happened because they understand the environment. As I said, I don't see myself as a big win coming across to tell you, these are things to make you curious. These are things to add to what you're already doing. So we got all this different ways. All these different ways. What I did here, believe me, you don't want my head. It goes all over the place. You know how we have people up here sometimes? And I just wondered what it would look like if I took a picture and showed people what it looked like. Maybe they would get an idea. Do you guys play baseball here? Okay. When somebody hits a baseball, is their back going towards the umpire or towards the field? It's going towards the umpire. It's going backwards. Your back's going backwards. And I kind of saw that in those pictures. Not you think about that. Years ago I would have, but so we have all these different ways. One of the principles of brain-compatible learning is to always have it be proactive. Most advice is a reaction to a poor outcome. Okay? In brain-compatible approach, it has to be positive, it has to be emotionally safe. Do you start it or do I start it? Okay. Now, hold on a second. One of the things that people hear is golf's a hard game. I don't think it's a hard game. I think it's inconsistent. They shoot 65 and they say that was easy. They shoot 75 and say, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. The culture of golf right now is the game of golf is here and the sport of golf is over here. The sport of golf is an ego-driven exhibition. How far, how low, what do I own, etc. The game of golf, the spirit of the game of golf, it's supposed to be an experience. And whether people are shooting 100 or 150 or 80 or what have you, if they understand that inconsistency is part of the deal, and in business they use it as a positive, you'll lower frustration and intimidation. Anybody that thinks the game of golf is hard, watch this.
We are the champions, my friend, and we'll keep on fighting to the end. We are the champions.
This man was run over when he was 5 years old. He's got nothing from here down. Zero. He had big brothers, never let him complain. Just go out. Shoots 85. Don't tell me golf's a hard game. the way we are coaching it makes it more difficult than it has to be.
We are the champions of the world.
Do you think he's practicing keeping a cocked left wrist? Huh? Well, on next month's Golf magazine says that's what we should do. Are his shoulders on plane?
We are the champions, my friend.
I mean, it's, and I say this even about myself, it's kind of silly where we've been for 100 years on this stuff. It really, but we only had to do what people in front of us did, and we did our best. How do I get rid of that thing? Because I want him to see impact and how he's sustaining the leg. I mean, you could put that on a picture of a book, couldn't you? Yes? I need some help. I'm in a foreign country. Okay? His ears are level, his eyes is level, all this stuff, because our body is made to do stuff the right way.
And we'll keep on fighting to the end. We are champions. We are the champions. No time for losers. We are the champions.
Pretty good stuff. I'm trying to get one at impact. You can see everything's on plane. Any flip? What's the big picture in basketball? Shoot up. What's the big picture in tennis? Get it over the net. What's the big picture in business? Make a profit. We would say, where this falls on a scale of 1 to 10 is up to the listener, is we would say the deal in golf is this weighs something, and all I'm doing is swinging a weight. This golf club, if you hold it upside down like this and swing it, there's no shaft rotation or face rotation. That's because the center of gravity of the club head and your hands cancel each other out. If I hold this club in a traditional way and rotate it, I'm not doing anything to the golf club. Your arms don't rotate, your hands don't rotate. The golf club causes that stuff to happen when you swing it. If you swing this golf, you just swing the weight of the golf club. That will happen.
We'll keep on fighting to the end. We are the champions. We are the champions.
Could it be different? Huh? Huh? This is my favorite. I make all the young kids watch this. You think something's hard? Here's a kid that puts a hose on, a clamp, and goes out and plays golf. Now, what you're going to watch is similar to maybe how I would have coached 20 years ago. How often are we told we're not good enough?
No, that is not good enough.
He just looks like a defeated man. He looks like somebody kicked his dog.
You had your time in the water.
Get out.
If you want to be in this race, you're going to have to go harder.
The more you Twitter, the worse you run.
Yeah, I really don't think he has a chance.
You know, a guy like this will never make it into 1,500 meters.
She's not even close.
He's got a slim chance of making it through.
Negative, 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 negative.
Not a very strong guy. Kromowicz-Oyo is not a great starter.
She's not particularly tall.
Never seen her in a big competition.
Part of the brain actually shuts down
Really did let herself go after Beijing.
when it hears something negative.
Special at every level. We've had a lot of crying in women's gymnastics, and she's been part of that picture. Russia, they have had some disappointments in this building, haven't they?
Brazil has been consistent with their serving, Kevin. Consistently bad.
Germany does not have a single medal.
Grenada does not have an Olympic medal in any event.
These two haven't spent much time on their duet at all.
Look at the angle going in the water. Not quite vertical. Interesting.
One of the 7 sins of serving.
Has a very elegant style.
For the most part. Talk about strategy. There was no strategy.
Sounds like the golf lessons I gave 20 years ago. This is wrong, that's wrong. It's not against this model, it's not against that model. That's not the way learning works. Okay, Harvard's Graduate School of Education, they're connecting Mind Brain to Education Institute, and I've been up there for 3 years. I've taken 30 hours of courses 3 years in a row. This is a list of things that obstructions to learning. The way information is presented. Information was not important to the student. We asked people, what do you want to work on today? And some are pretty blank. They don't know what they want to work on, and then we pitch in. But if somebody wants to work on something, that's where we start. It has to be, they have to be involved. How questions are asked. Information was not presented in multiple ways. You know, everything you learn in putting can be learned for chipping or hitting any shot. I mean, the shaft's either behind your hands or it's not. The face is either where you want it to be or not. The rhythm is either what you want or not. So we would say the golf swing is like an electric drill, and you're just plugging in different, it's all generic. You're just plugging in different situations and creating flexible knowledge and portable skills. It was counterintuitive. Before something is encoded in the brain, it spends a moment in working memory. And if it can't be attached to a past experience, it leaves. People have to understand in it and have to have meaning. Meaning is, it has to make sense and have meaning. Meaning is more important than sense. You know, people realize their sense tells them there's traffic at 9 o'clock in the morning. Well, what does that mean to you? What are you going to do with it? Information was not based on a concept. Which we'll get into. We talk about the golf club. Students questions, why am I being asked to learn this? I think every teacher in school should tell the child, you're right, you're not going to use this, but you're going to learn how to look things up, you learn how to organize your ideas, you're going to learn how to discover things. This particular subject we're asked to teach, but not for the subject matter. It's to develop learning skills. And rather than defend the subject, they should say, you're right, you may never use this, but you're going to learn to work in a group, you're going to learn to do this, this, and this. Misconceptions in the student's mind. Information was given without metaphors. This is from Harvard now. Students given more details than needed. Could you help me out again? Stand up. Face your buddies. Take a foul shot. Take a foul shot in basketball. Did he take a foul shot or did he bend his elbow? What did he do? What did I ask him to do? I'm speaking New York, so you don't know what I'm saying, huh? He took a foul shot. The golf swing is like a Jack Welch book. It's a history lesson. Any description of the golf swing is something that's already happened. It's not meant to be used for the next shot. The next shot's going to be different. Totally different. And telling people, did Michael Jordan know his elbow was at 90 degrees? Students were judged. No opportunity for students to self-discover or evaluate. They're not empty barrels. Pia and Lynn I know them for 30 years, and I got it from them, outstruction. It's outstruction. It's there. Our job is to pull it out, not put it in. What I might ask a student is, why is croquet a vertical game? Because the stick's vertical. Are we back up? Okay. Why is pool a horizontal game? Because the table's flat. Why do we shoot basketballs up? Because the net's up. We ask people to see the golf club as a hockey stick or a roof of a house. That it's a baseball swing bent over. And you probably won't want a style that goes up the chimney. And you probably won't want a style that gets off on the second floor. You probably want a style that stays parallel to the roof of the house. That's the big picture. And I don't get too much more involved with that. Do you play baseball with the tip of the bat? Say no. Say, do you play baseball with the whole shaft? Yes. Is the shaft straight when you get to the baseball or leaning? Some say straight, and some say leaning, which it is. Then I'll say, is the broom straight up and down or leaning? Is the knife straight or leaning? Is the paintbrush straight or leaning? Well, they're all leaning. Well, lo and behold, for 500 years, the golf club's been built with the book on the back seat of the car. This weight is behind the handle for 500 years. Okay? And if you swing the golf club, the shaft will get there first. But if you have extra employees, I'll say, if there's a book on the back seat of the car, and the car stops, what happens to the book? Well, it goes forward. Did I flip my hands? Yes. No, I didn't flip my hands. The weight of the club flipped my hands because I stopped swinging. If a quarterback's being tackled, he's got to make something up. If he's not being tackled, the whole system is using. Could you come up here a second? What's your name? Jennifer. Jennifer, come on up here. You're easier to look at than I am, so, okay? I'll take their hand and I'll do this. Thanks. If there's 10 girls on a skate line at a ice show, how many girls are moving? And sometimes they'll say 10. And I'll say, no, there's only one girl moving. Baseball pitcher's arm isn't moving, it's being transported. The club isn't moving, the hands aren't moving. And for me, I'm more everything works together kind of guy. So everything's being transported. They don't know this. They don't see this. There's been a lot of talk about the speed of the hips. All the announcers are talking about how fast Rory's hips are moving. Does anybody know how fast the hips are moving in a golf swing? About 3 miles an hour. Hands are going about 15. The club head is the end of the whip, so it's going 80, 90, 100. This is lethargic. It's moving 3-4 miles an hour because it's the inside girl. And everybody's hearing fast hips, and they're doing whatever they do. They're not swinging the club. This is huge. Well, I think everything's huge. I think everything's exciting, okay? It wouldn't be unusual for me to say, if we took somebody that never went ice skating before to an ice skating rink and say, pick out who do you want to skate like? Would they pick orthodox or unorthodox? If we took somebody to a ski slope and say, pick out who you want to ski like, orthodox or unorthodox? Orthodox. Take somebody to a driving range, never played golf. They're going to pick out, they don't need a teacher. They need a referee of what's relevant, a traffic cop for ideas. They have ideas that are different, that are slowing them down. They think this, and one of the first things I do is have them give me a lesson, even if they're a beginner. I bake some cookies. I don't like what they taste like, and I take them to a world-class chef. And I say, I hate these. What's the first thing he's going to say? Well, tell me how you made them. So I want to know what people are trying to do with the golf club. And they give me their directions to Main Street. Well, I say, you like my grip, you like my posture, what's your ideas about this and what's your ideas about that? Sometimes they describe something that's pretty damn good, and sometimes it describes something you'd like them to look at it differently. Please realize this, the same 10 numbers we knew in kindergarten built a rocket ship. We just learned to do something different with them. Tour players are using the same swing they used when they were 5 years old. They just learned to do something different with it. Nobody was broken. Nobody needs fixing. They're on a journey of learning and development where nothing is so giving them choices. I've never, this was, used to be able to say to my kids, I say to my grandkids, I promise you this is the truth. I will say to somebody, do you like A, do you like B, or do you like C? Do you like A or do you like B? Do you like person A or B? I actually sometimes I haven't filmed in 20 years. Films are, I'll tell you why. All those programs are very, very good, created by really bright computer people, but nobody in the learning societies was involved with them. They don't even know if they're helping. I spent some time with the Swiss Olympic Committee, and they say that the coach doesn't even go in the room when they film occasionally. It's up to the player to decide what to do. If you're going to film, have them look at it after your session, and certainly don't talk about it during the session. If you really feel you're in a place where it's going to hurt your business not to do it, it hasn't hurt my business. I really haven't filmed in 20 years. And they come in and built this great big thing for me to do. Okay. So we're always giving people choices and asking them questions well, what do you think? Tommy, why did you hit we start the little ones out by, let me see you make the ball go to third base. Let me see you make the ball go to first base. Let me see them make the ball go. And we usually do it like this. After they hit one, I'll say, where do you think the face was looking when you hit that shot? And they'll look at me. I say, well, which way did the ball go? Well, it went that way. Well, the face was looking that way. I'm giving them the tools to be self-evaluators. Why do you think it went that way? Okay, so now that you know it went that way, let's pretend we're at home plate and there's a first base, second base, and third base. Make it go to first base. Make it go to third base. And they all can do it with no ideas at all because they're working the instrument. I would argue, and I need your help here, I'm trying to make the ball do something. I'm not trying to make my foot do something, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. I learned to use a toothbrush. I learned to use a steering wheel. This is the sucker that's got the rules for it. Information did not make sense or have meaning. Conscious attempts to learn. Learning is completely non-conscious. Man, if I stood here and tried to focus on making a putt, I wouldn't have the feel for the distance. None of the... This is pretty wild, but none of you guys got dressed this morning. Your memories got dressed based on where you were going. If you were going to a wedding, you would have picked out a different outfit, and you wouldn't have thought about it. The brain knows it's uphill. The brain knows it's downhill. The brain knows it's left to right. You don't have to stand there and consciously do it. it's been the research tests that, and it's been our experience too.
Looking good. You're getting it. Every day I see improvement.
Listen to what the dad says.
Dad.
Listen to what he says.
I love how you catch.
Now watch it again.
Isn't life delicious?
Right here, right here. Beautiful. Great. Excellent. Looking good. You're getting it. Every day I see improvement. Have a lifesavers, Dad.
I love how you catch.
Did they ever catch?
Savers candy. Isn't life delicious?
People only know they're off base if you tell them they're off base. If somebody, like all of us, you make stuff up on the fly. If somebody showed up with this swing, what do you think Michael Patrick Hebron would tell him? That's a great swing for under a tree. Now, let me see you swing where there wasn't a tree. I'd never tell them they were flat. 20 years ago, I would have. If somebody's a little over-accelerating, most people call this 1, 2, 1, 2. I don't see the 2. I just see one motion. You don't take a hammer and go dot, dash, bang. You go 1. The golf swings we like don't have a firecracker in them. They don't have an all of a sudden in them. Okay, is the chair moving? I think the chair is being moved. Well, that thing's there. Is the chair moving now? Because the whole system's responding to each other. If you take apart natural balance and rhythm, you're dead. You're dead at it. So, we ask people to try things. Hit it too high, hit it too low. Swing too fast, swing too slow. If somebody was over-accelerating, I would tell them that was a 1-2. It wasn't a 1. And 1 can be at low gear, medium gear, or high gear. And I would walk up and come here. I would say to them, is pressure a pulse or a constant? They'd say a constant. And that's where I got the idea for 1 from. A constant application of force. And most of the folks we coach are over-accelerating. And I think that they think it's a 1-2. And a lot of coaching is guesswork. Some coaches won't tell you that, but you're guessing, you're hoping. If somebody's over-accelerating, I'd say, well, that's 10 miles an hour, let me see it 8. I wouldn't tell them they were swinging too fast or too slow. I'm excited we're going to get a chance to spend some time together again, and today outside. And I want to thank the committee for asking me here, and I appreciate your attention. Thanks a lot.